Well, as you know, the Department of Transportation Officer of Inspector General initiated the investigation into the former secretary during the Trump administration and completed the investigation under the leadership of a Trump-appointed Inspector General. The Inspector Generals across agencies are independent for a reason, and we certainly respect their role in moving forward or seeing those investigations through as they see fit. Go ahead, Mary.
The governor of Mississippi has responded to the president's comments yesterday, and he seems to have taken offense at some of the president's language. He says Mississippians don't need handlers. I just think we should trust Americans and not insult them. He's making an argument that this is really about personal liberty here. Does the president have any second thoughts about the language that he used yesterday, and how does comparing someone to a Neanderthal help convince them to change course and get on board with your public health message?
The behavior of a Neanderthal, just to be very clear, the behavior of. Look, I think the president, what everybody saw yesterday was a reflection of his frustration and exasperation, which I think many American people have, that for almost a year now, people across the country have sacrificed. And many times they haven't had information they need from the federal government. They haven't had access to a greater understanding of what the public health guidelines should look like. And those include many, many people in Mississippi, in Texas, in Ohio, Florida, in every state across the country. And, you know, he believes that with more than 500,000 Americans' lives lost, with families that continue to suffer, that it's imperative that people listen across the country, whether they live in a red state or a blue state, to the guidance of public health experts. At the same time, you've watched the president closely for some time, Mary, as you all have. He's going to engage with and talk with people who disagree with him on a range of issues, including this one. But he believes that if we're going to get this pandemic under control, we need to follow public health guidelines. He simply was asked the American people to abide by wearing masks for 100 days. We're at about day 40. Are we at day 40? Around there. 60 more days. That's what he's asking, and he's certainly hopeful that businesses and people across the country will continue to do that.
Has he reached out to Governors Reeves and Abbott to convince them to try and change course here?
I don't think his view on mask wearing is a secret. They're certainly familiar with it. He's talked about it many, many times, and I'm certain when he speaks with them next, he will convey that directly.
The president has said that he hopes, he's hopeful that by this time next year we may be getting some semblance of normalcy again. Mm-hmm. Is there a concern that as we see states like Mississippi and Texas take these actions, if others follow suit, that could shift the timeline, that a few states could set back the timeline here?
Well, what the president has said publicly and certainly conveyed to all of us is he can't do this alone. The federal government cannot do this alone. This is going to require additional sacrifice from the American people. He doesn't think that's easy. None of us think that's easy. But he has ordered enough vaccines to ensure everybody in the country is vaccinated. And we will have those vaccines by the end of May. But it will require ongoing social distancing, ongoing mask wearing, as we've been talking about, and it will also require the American people getting the vaccine. He can't force individuals to do that. So he can just project the recommendations of public health officials. He can take steps, as he has over the last couple of days, to ensure that communities are prioritized who are playing key roles in society. But he can't do it on behalf of the public, and it is going to require the public to play an important and vital role here, too.
On vaccines, the president has been pretty critical of the prior administration's handling of this pandemic, saying you inherited a mess here. But when it comes to vaccinations, you are following some of the same playbook here. So does the prior administration deserve some credit for laying the groundwork?
Which ones are we following?
Well, for instance, former Trump HHS Assistant Secretary Admiral Brett Giroir has said that you're following 99% of the playbook they created on vaccines. He has said that the prior administration deserves more credit here for at least getting the ball rolling on some of these.
I don't think anyone deserves credit when 500,000 people in the country have died of this pandemic. So what our focus is on, and when the president's focus is on when he came into office just